Hello, my name's Jerry. I've been asked to take a video of the 1971 Nova that I'm selling. Here it is at my garage at home. It's a very special car in that it has 35,000 actual documented miles, not just on the odometer, but also the state of Indiana has confirmed and documented this mileage as true, actual, original 35,000 miles on this car. It is a true super sport car. I have it in a bag, plastic bag right now to keep the dirt and dust off of it. I'll take the bag off in a moment. It's actually one of less than 4,000 built in 1971 out of nearly 200,000 built in that year. The 71 SS cars were very low production, about half or so of what was produced in 1970. As you can see, this has when the car was new, back in the 70s, the dealer put this Twin City Chevrolet Gas City, Indiana decal on the trunk. It was sold new in Indiana, has remained in Indiana its entire life. It is all original interior car, excluding somebody had put in when the car was close to new, a Hurst shifter, because the Muncie shifters did not shift as well as the Hurst. And the car has the original exterior paint. Has the original grille. Original headlights even are still in the car, which I'll get a closer shot on when I get the bag off. It also has, like on the rear trunk, these plates you see on cars, and probably most people don't understand what they are, but actually back in the late 60s and early 70s, the new car dealers, after these cars were built at GM's assembly plants and delivered to the dealer, the dealerships put on these license plates. Probably out of 100 you'll see in modern day, 99 of them are all reproductions. But this one is actually an authentic license plate. This is probably a $300 to $500 license plate, possibly more to a collector that collects license plates. As you can see, Twin City Chevy right on the front. So this was actually put on at the same time back in 1971 that this was put on. So both of those items have been on this car for 48 years. This car has original chrome bumpers, never re-chromed, GM, all original SS ornamentation, original light lenses, date coded, all original stainless trim, born to the car, every piece. Original mirrors, original door handles, born to the car. Even the original windshield wipers, born to the car. All original dated GM window glass, never replaced. Every piece dated to the car. This is code 19, triple black, meaning black roof, black lower, black interior car. It's the original GM trim tag that's never been off the car and monkeyed with, and all the codes on the trim tag are correct for how the car is now. Hood louvers, SS only, born GM, original to the car. Okay, I've removed the dust cover from the car. Show you the headlights again. As you can see, these are the power beams, nice and clear. you can see, for being 48-year-old lacquer. I've seen a few cars. I've had a lot of muscle cars. I've seen a few of them that have some original paint on them. Normally they're pretty heavy spider checked in a lot of places with the old lacquer. This would be the nicest paint, Survivor paint I've ever seen in my life, and I've been around muscle cars for 20 plus years. Still has the original GM keys with 2 GM spares that have been cut. This is the correct, even original gas tank, or gas tank cap, which you don't see very often. The little things that tend to go missing. So you can see the condition of the chrome. You can see my fingers reflection there, but as you can see, the chrome and the condition of the tail light lenses, it's very good. In case you're not very experienced in the auto restoration of, older vintage 60s, 70s, 50s cars, the new chrome doesn't seem to be as nice or deep of a luster as what GM did back in the day. Probably has something to do with the cost of chroming it. Yeah, original GM SS emblem and back SS ornament plate. It's all born to the car. Trunk opens real nice. If you look, the bottom of this trunk, it's all original GM paint. This is the original jacking sticker put on by General Motors 48 years ago, still in place. If you look, the condition of the paint in the trunk gutter areas, and it's got a little bit of a shadow here, but try to get some light. Even this, it's hard to focus in, this rubber here, that's, as far as I know, never been replaced. Original GM on this 35,000 actual mile car. This, I'll have to pull it forward probably to get some better light here in my garage, but this this Raleigh wheel in the trunk is the Bourne spare that GM put in when this car was built in Michigan at the Willow Run plant. And the beauty ring is GM, and if you pop off the beauty ring, you'll see this is a Kelsey Hayes wheel, AZ code, which is SS only, and it's date coded 1971, just prior proceeding to the build date, official build date of the GM records, and the build date on the trim tag. Again, I need more light in here, but there's photos on the internet that show this. This trunk is in amazing condition. This is one of those cars that somebody didn't haul anything around in the trunk. It's not dented up. It's beautiful inside. The tags are even still on from GM on the wiring, which is hard to see because I don't have enough light. I'm not going to be able to see it there, but a green tag on the taillight wiring. The wiring looks brand new. All the GM factory spatter paint in the trunk. Glass is very nice, as you can see my reflection in it. Original glass. See if I can get in on the stamping here. Also in here, it's hard to capture it because the mirror's in the way. So you can see the stainless trim is in excellent condition. Go ahead and open the hood for you. Still has the original GM insulation under the hood. This is about the last year. It was the last year in Nova for the higher horsepower small block engines. This engine is rated to just 20 horsepower less than the 69 Z28 engine. It's called an L48. Pretty nice looking engine. Correct air cleaner, has the correct date coded, just preceding the build date of the car. Intake manifold and cylinder heads. The car was assembled by the Willow Run plant in Michigan in April of 1971, as you can see on the trim tag. It's an 04B car, which is April 2nd week of 1971. 751 is the black vinyl interior trim. 1919 is code 19 tuxedo black for the paint of the car. As you can see here, there's a, you can see that blue dot. You won't see this probably any time in your life, but this means this is the original master cylinder, or pardon me, brake booster installed by GM. As you can see, it says, it's hard to focus, but it does say Delco on it. Still has the blue GM inspection dot. The intake is dated C for March. The heads are dated C for March. The block is a 010 high nickel 39710 block, installed and stamped by GM. The casting date on the block is 1971. Stamped CE on the pad. This car retains the Bourne original distributor, and believe it or not, you can see when it's up in the air, it has the GM blue inspection still on the housing where the turning lines are. I've never seen one where that hasn't been rubbed off yet, but it's still present on there. This car did have the manifolds taken off and headers put on. I'm told these are Doug Thurley headers. That's what I was told by someone else. They're vintage headers. Probably worth something as antique value. But I guess back then, Doug Thorley, I don't think he's probably passed away, but was a, like Stahl and all them back in the day, was the header, one of the header guys that everyone seemed to, not everyone, but a lot of people seemed to like. But yeah, also has the correct date-coded 1971 alternator on it. I believe also is dated March of 71. Did look at that. This car has the, you won't see this very often, and I hope I can capture it with the lack of light. I'll get my arm out of the way. It's hard to see. It's right above my finger here. It says Harrison. And it also, I need to get a flashlight down here, but there's also down here the GM radiator tag, and this is the original, not a reproduction. A lot of people buy these from like Joe's Parts Place and put them on. You can probably hear me clicking on it, pulling it back and letting it hit the tank on the radiator. But this is the correct VA code tag for the original Harrison radiator, all date coded to the car. So this still has the Bourne original radiator in the car, which you don't see that very often. Along with the Doug Thurley headers, this has GM mufflers on it. What they're called is chambered pipe. There's two of them. and they're put in the correct position, which is in front of the rear differential, but behind the gas tank, mounted up high. Same system that was offered limited production on the 1969 Z28. So this thing sounds just about identical to a 1969 Z28, if you've ever heard one. It's one of my favorite sort of exhaust systems. The tailpipes were all put in the correct factory location. There's a cutout back here. It's hard to see, but there's two cutouts at the bottom of the rear bumper in here. That's where GM placed these, and they were put back that way. It also has ladder bars on. Those were day two. When I bought this car, it had vintage Krager wheels, which are actually pretty valuable. They sell for about $250 to $500 a wheel. Vintage Blue Cat Kragers, and they're like mint condition. I've taken them off, but they are available. So it had those and the traction bars on it. But the traction bars are very easy to take off. They can be taken off in like 15 minutes. And then it's just a change of the anchor plates that bolt on the bottom of the shock and leaf spring. Those are like $60, $70 for the correct ones if a guy doesn't want to have the traction bars on the car. Another thing it'll be real hard to see, but down in this cowl underneath these vents, I don't know if you'll see it, you can probably see it. That's the factory GM spatter paint, the same that they put in the trunk. I've never seen that before in a late 60s, early 70s GM muscle car. That's always gone. But the little things like that are very impressive. And if I had enough light, if I could show you in the trunk, the wiring to the tail lights, the metal frames for the tail light assemblies, all that sort of stuff. Again, there's the glass is original. See it there, flow light. Again here on the front window, flow light, and up on the little window, back to that. And down here, it's hard to see it, I don't have enough light again, but it's the factory glass, and I need some more light, but in here, all these little fuzzies that are always gone, missing, or all deteriorated and falling apart and missing the fur, all the fuzzy in here for these windows is like, this is the original ones GM put on, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're just, I would never want to take these off and put on a reproduction. They're that nice. The doors, the doors, all, this in here, factory paint. These aren't painted. GM never painted them in here, on the latches like you see a lot of people do. The interior in this car is like amazing. The passenger seat and the rear seats, and even the front seat for the most part, driver's seat, it's like they've never been sat in. And the doors, how they open and shut. I mean, you don't have to slam them. They got just the nicest crisp sound. All original sheet metal car. All the sheet metal, if GM dated the panel, it's still dated on here. You don't have to worry about any weird panel fitment, and because this car hasn't had any metal replaced or played with, so it's that in itself, all original sheet metal car, original paint, original spare tire and jack assembly still in the car. And the jack looks like it's never been taken out. Still has the foam on the jack where it bolts into the trunk. You'd have to see it. I could explain it in person, which is pretty amazing. But pull it out, get some better light here, but the back seat and everything is just perfect. There was what they call a sequence build sheet tucked under the front, the spring underneath the front seat, and I pulled the back seat also under the, I haven't disturbed that one. It's still wrapped around the seat frame on the bottom of the seat. Sequence trim, build sheets, 2 of them in the car. Factory headrests, just mint. All these stuff that's usually all painted silver by somebody out of a spray can or rusted out is still got the GM anodizing finish on it. These are put on by GM, not replacements. This car even has the original floor mat still in it. The dash pad is just flawless. Under the dash is too dark to see it, but the metal heater box underneath the dash, if you crawl under the dash, you can almost see yourself in. The black paint is still perfect. Usually they're all pitted and got rust spots on them. The paint's wore off. And all the wiring under the dash, it looks like it was put in like a year ago. It's all clean and shiny and hasn't been messed with. Again, somebody did change the shifter. Can't see it very well because I need some more light in here. To a Hurst. Can't capture it. The seat belts in this car are all like brand new. We're talking perfect. Irvin date coated belts. Same thing with the back seat. Give you an idea, if I can get it focused in on here, how nice these seat belts are. The tags on them where the date code is. Yeah, I just can't get the light I need. Okay, I've moved the car forward so I can get some better light here. Here's most of these you'll see are reproduction. Some they have the VIN in them. This was the inspection. This one, as you can see, 4 of 71, just like the trim tag. This was put on by GM. This is not a reproduction. A lot of people buy them, put them on reproduction. They use a typewriter to put the VIN back in. That's not the case here. Yeah, the door panels, are in really nice condition. Door handle. This is the Bourne steering wheel. The lock works. Somebody did add an oil pressure gauge. Here, a Sun. This is like the headers and traction bar. This is vintage here. Sun was what they put on day 2 back in the late 60s, early 70s. If you can, 35,105 right now. Just turned from 34. These, that are normally all froze up and everything, move nicely. They do work. Heat blows, blower motor works. You can start to get an appreciation of the interior in this thing. I have some light finally. Told this is the GM installed shifter boot and bezel. Look how nice it is. These steering wheels normally are cracked or they're a reproduction. And then they crack a lot of times on the back. That's a shadow there. There's no cracks on the back of this wheel. Just getting a lot of shadows from the sunlight now. Can't win with the light. Headliner, just excellent. Factory GM dome light. It works. I just have the light out, the bulb out right now, so it doesn't run the battery down, but look at the condition of it. Those are usually always reproduction when you see them. Back seats like flawless. All these GM shoulder belts still in place with the factory clips. Probably never been taken down, I bet. I would suspect, can't prove it, but these have never been removed from the headliner. When you see the condition of the back seat and everything in this car, and you'll understand what I mean. When you fold the seat, the fabric in here and the white stitching is like, again, I said the little things. If you're a restoration guy, you'd understand why I'm making a big deal about the clean gray fabric here when you open the seat up with the white stitching. When I took the back seat out to get the sequence build sheet out, under the seat, you know, normally there's pencils and pennies and dirt and grime, and a lot of cars, even mice nests, and like real clean under the seat. All the GM, you know, insulation there, and real clean. No coins or pencils or crayons or anything underneath the seat. I don't think anyone ever even rode back in it really at all. My son did one time after I bought the car, but other than that, I don't think so. Here's what I was trying to focus on in here earlier before, when I didn't have any light. But if you look at I still am having trouble with the light. But how clean these, got to stay back from it a little bit, GM belts are, and just trying to read the date code on this one. Yeah, A of 71. So these belts are dated January 1971. Yeah, back seat's kind of terrible for light. And I'll go ahead and start it up for you so you can hear that chambered pipe exhaust. Oh, this is actually about a $100 to $300 radiator cap. It's not a reproduction. It's called a R15, 15 PSI with the brass rivet in the center, turn tight, remove slowly like the gas tank lid. The reproductions say something like turn or do not remove when hot. These say remove slowly, turn tight. So, and maybe now that I have some light, you can see I did put some white marking on the alternator, but it's the correct part number. Ends in 566, 37 amp, and it looks like C16 of 1, so March 16th of 1971 on the alternator with the correct factory fan blade. These are big money, these fan blades. They do reproduce them that look like this style, but the reproduction guys haven't got this little cutout right where my pinky is. Again, power beam matching each side with guide underneath it. All GM's lenses always said guide. You know, if this was a, let's say 67 to 69 Camaro or maybe a 70 Chevelle with this sort of documented 35,000 actual miles, original paint, original interior car, Survivor, it would be probably a 200, 150, at least 100,000, maybe $200,000 car, depending on how bad somebody'd want it. These Novas, I've always liked them. A lot of people like them. You know, they should be more collectible than what they are, but yeah, this should be put up and preserved in a cocoon. This car, to have it stay in this condition for 48 years, you know, original paint, original interior, paint in this condition, interior in the condition it is, with all the different things, with so many things on it that haven't been messed with and are still, you know, GM installed. You know, this should be a big ticket car, and it should even just for a collector to serve as an example of what they were really like in so many different areas where this car hasn't been messed with. You know, I started off, I was asking $49,000 for the car, and I thought it was to get, I mean, you won't find another one, I don't think, ever like this. And now I've reduced the price down to as of yesterday, it was $34,000 range, and that's still negotiable. You know, I'll work with somebody on it, but it's definitely a car I want to go to somebody who will appreciate it for what it is. Just trying to, had someone on the internet ask me for a video. I wasn't planning on taking one, so I'm just taking the time out of my work day here on a Wednesday to do this. Make sure I cover all the bases so I don't have to do it again. I should have probably done this slow walk around in the beginning of the video. And I'm going to have to tell everybody that doesn't want to watch this long video to go to the very end of the video, which would be around 34 minutes into the video now. Time flies to get the walk around. If you look on, if you ask me, I can send you photos, or they're on the internet published. If you want to see the underside of the car, all original floorboards and trunk pan, of course, just like all the metal on the car. This car has, I see no signs of this car ever being in an accident whatsoever. Every panel of metal on the whole car, every bumper, every piece of trim on the car, that's on the body panels and around the windshields, is born GM. And there's no rust on this car whatsoever. Never had any rust repair. Now, you might find like a bolt or something somewhere, or look on the inside of a fender and see like some discoloration, like a piece of cast iron right after you sandblast it. If you get it wet, it'll start to get a little rust on it. But when I say this car has no rust or ever any rust repair, I hate to make statements like that, because somebody that's unjust and not very fair will look inside of a panel and find like some surface rust but I'm talking about this car's never had any structural rust or holes, and repaired, and been welded and had any filler repair that I see any signs of, and never any patchwork or anything like this. This is, again, an original paint, original sheet metal car that's been kept inside for 40 plus years in a very controlled environment, and I know that just by the interior, hasn't, rubbers and all that, and felts are in such good condition for their age. This for an experienced concours types restoration guy, survivor quality car. It would take a professional to really appreciate the condition of this car for not being a fully restored vehicle, like pretty much 90 out of 100 are anymore because of the age. Even if they weren't, they have low mileage. Most of them still, like I said, the paint really heavy spider checked and cracked, and the interior faded and tore, and got like that chalky finish on it, but you get the point. Sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a moment, and then I'll start it so you can hear how it sounds, and I'm going to conclude this video that has went way longer than I anticipated it to, but as you can see, I have a lot to say about this car. I know I told you I was going to start it, but since I have it pulled forward, the back here is still, tail of it's still hanging in my garage, but I wanted you guys to see. Of course, if I stand in the wrong place, I block the light, so that's a fight. But I wanted you to see the quality of the trunk in this thing. All that GM, that's GM spatter paint. The wiring, again, I'm going to get in the way of the light, I'm sure, but I wish you could see. I need a flashlight, I think, to get down underneath the trunk seal gutter. But I wish you could see the anodizing on the light frame, the tail light frame, and all the wiring. The jack over here, look at the gold anodizing like on a new brake booster. Again, I'm struggling with the light. These marker light lens assembly bodies here they're like very clean white, like almost new looking, and the little castle nuts on them still have the factory GM, dum-dum putty under them. The trunk is blocking my light, but the quarters and the wiring, the taillight harness wiring that comes back in the inner quarters and everything on this thing. You just have to see it to appreciate it. I don't think you'll ever see in your lifetime a trunk and inner quarters, you know, where the fender wells are in the trunk, and the condition of this trunk. I've been thinking about taking this car to what they call the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals in Chicago, where they judge survivor cars. That's all factory. This is where those drains are that GM puts in, those metal plates. That's all that's factory putty there from GM. That's how they did it. Little things like that, you know, you don't see that on a lot of the restoration cars, but that's what GM did. Same over here with their seam sealer, I think is what it's called. Some people call it a Vico. And another thing, I'm not going to have the light. I have a picture of it. I can send it to you. There's a vapor can in the trunk back here with all the factory fuel lines going into it. It's like, looks new, and there's an orange seal on it on the bottom. I mean, it looks like it was bought new and put in last week. All right, I'm going to start the car now. All right, getting ready to start the car. Fuel gauge does work. I just put fuel on it yesterday. I got it about just a hair over a half tank right now. Again, I told you the heat works. Turn signals work. The horn works. Those are sort of things you see on these low mileage survivor cars. It's nice because things actually work. And the restoration cars, even though the paint looks beautiful and they have all new seat covers and door panels, and you know, somebody spent 20, 60 grand restoring them, the little things that take so many hours of work to put back the way GM did it, it's nice on a survivor car because they're still the way they should be, and things work that normally don't work on restoration cars. Also, the generator light works, the emergency brake light works, and the emergency brake works on this car very nicely. It's also got the Muncie has the VIN stamping in it that GM stamped the tranny, born to the car. The rear end is born to the car, also date coded 12 bolt. This is the last year for 12 bolt rear end. 335 is stamping on the tube for the ratio. Does have a posi unit in the rear end. I pulled the cover and changed the fluid on it, and it is a posi new unit. Looks like it's brand new in there. Factory radio. I haven't turned it on, check to see if it works yet. The factory GM sticker still in here. The glove box and everything is like flawless. Oops. The dash, I got a shadow from the light, but the dash is like mint. And on the transmission, still has the GM tag that says it's an M20 wide ratio, and the wiring for you have to push the clutch in to start it, and all that hasn't been cut out and removed like most cars. So push the clutch in here. It's probably a little cold-blooded, as you can see when you turn the key on. The generator light comes on as it should. Reading about 38 pounds of oil pressure at idle here. Make sure it's in neutral. Let the clutch out. Set the emergency brake. You can see the brake light did come on. Go out and let you listen to it. It's Again, sounds just like a 69 Z28 302 DZ car. Got the same chambered pipe system on it. This engine is just 20 horsepower less than the 69 Z28. I'm going to kick the high idle down now. Hopefully it won't die because it's still cold, but that way I can get the idle to settle down. Has the original date-coded Quadrajet dated January of... It has the GM, correct Quadrajet dated... January of 1971 on this car. The right part number comes back for 4-speed manual SS. Still a little cold. Uh-oh. Got to warm her up a little bit before you kick the high idle down. Okay, I was able to kick the high idle down, let it get a little bit of coolant temperature. This way you guys can hear it when it's not so high idling. It sounds good in my opinion. I really like the way chambered pipe GM chambered pipe systems work. It was limited production, only available for like a half year in '69 into the very beginning of '70, I think, or early '70s, and they discontinued it. But boy, does it sound good! It just really talks to you. Very nice and crisp sound. Look at those lines. Never played with. Original sheet metal, original paint. Yeah, look at those hood lines. Yep, even the best of restoration guys can't get the lines this good. Trunk lines. Yeah, one of a kind here. 35,000 actual miles survivor. Nova 12-bolt Muncie 4-speed M20 car. Born numbers matching. VIN stamped by GM, not a restamp. Born transmission. Stamped GM installed. 1971 casting date. engine block installed by GM, not re-stamped, stamped by GM. Numbers matching, correct trim tag. This car is the correct color. You know, again, it's never been painted. Just 20 horsepower less than the 69 Z28. Lighter than 69 Z28, so they'll be on par for each other because these cars were lighter than the Camaros. And it's got the same limited production chambered pipe exhaust system on it. So, pretty neat. There's that chambered pipe, really nicely installed. When this chambered pipe system was installed, it was all the factory dual exhaust hangers that GM installed were used. So we're talking a very clean installation, and I actually was involved with the installation of this chambered pipe exhaust system. And a guy that I work with did me a favor to install it with GM chambers, and he charged me, even at the good guy rate, over $500, and I supplied the muffler pipes, the GM chambers. So it's a very quality deal there. And I'll show you how nicely it shuts off. And I'm going to release the emergency brake for you so you can see the brake light, how it will go off. Yeah, that's the nice thing about a car that hasn't been taken apart and had the dash ripped out of it and all that nonsense. There you have it. There it is. Again, the price, I thought this car, because of the mileage and what it is, should be a $49,000, $50,000 car, no problem. But I've reduced the price now down to $34,000, make offer. Just because I have another 70 Camaro RS SS car that I want to finish up. And want this to go to a good home. Somebody, again, that'll appreciate it. Got the sunlight causing me problems again here, but just trying to get under the car a little bit. Again, pretty nice car. Challenge anyone to find another 68 through 72 Nova with this sort of mileage in this condition. Or better yet, I'd challenge anyone to find any Chevrolet, 65 to 72 with this sort of mileage in this condition, with original paint, original interior, and show it to me. It's the only one I've ever found like this. Again, sold new in Indiana, born new in Indiana. I have the NCRS records on it. Comes with 2 sequence build sheets, one still under the back seat. I didn't want to disturb it. I also have a window sticker, the original keys, the original floor mat. About all I can think of. Pretty nice. Have a good day. If you want to talk to me about this car, if you find it on YouTube or something, I guess I should put my contact information before I shut off this video. My name is Jerry Long, My cell phone number is area code 785-408-2911. My home phone is area code 260-319-4006. Again, 260-319-4006. Forgive my young children playing in the backyard making strange noises. My email is Jerry, Jerry, the @ symbol, S like Sam, A like Apple, G like George, performance.com. That's Jerry at sagperformance.com. And it's Jerry with a J. You can reach out to me if you have any other questions or find the car and are interested in seeing it in person. You can make an appointment. Contact me to see if it's still available. I've contacted Patrick Glenn Nichols of Muscle Car Barn Finds on this car and let him know about this car. Invited him to come film it here in Indiana. Also spoken to Jerry McNeish of Camaro High Performance on this car. Pretty special car. And I'm also offering, as long as we work out a reasonable price, I am willing to pay for the auto transport on this car to any state, excluding Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico in the United States. I'll pay it out of my pocket and I'll have it delivered to you by a professional auto transport company. Have a good day. Signing off.